Good morning, everyone. So we'd like to welcome everyone here today to this advanced drone mapping and geospatial analysis for agriculture. As director and also the national correspondent for FAO, the Ministry of Agriculture and FAO, I have the privilege of working closely with this team from the inception, from the first training and now to this advanced training. And today we highlight not just the technology, but the capacity that people and equipment can use to bring about innovation and to solve national challenges. So no further ado, I'd like to welcome our permanent secretary to give some welcoming remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Director of Agriculture. I would just acknowledge the presence of the technical officers, heads of unit, and special welcome to the drone pilots, the participants. I also want to acknowledge the presence online of my FAO colleague. Mr. Director, I'm still an FAO person. So I want to acknowledge my good friend, Dr. Sandoval and Kim. So it gives me great pleasure to give remarks on his important, I should say, graduation. And we had several graduations already. So as the Ministry of Agriculture, it's wisdom set the policy direction for us to contribute 700 million by 2020. And what we have done, we have implemented a sustainable agriculture fisheries program aimed at providing some of the key strategic areas in sustainable growth and fisheries and investment. And so this training is part of the ministry's overall goal in building capacity in technology, innovation, research, and development. And so it is consistent with where we want our extension officers to be in terms when we talk about innovation. Drone technology is not new to us. We had the first initial training with FAO, where we had about 5 or 6 officers trained in drone technology. I'm very pleased that we have advanced this technology and we can boast of having some in the OACS, some of the best pilots when it comes to drone technology as it relates to agriculture. So for us, it's a pleasure to be part of that initiative. At this time, we want to thank the FAO for continued support, not only in technology, but in development of the sector when we speak about nutrition security. I'm very pleased that over 2 months that our officers stand the course and now can boast of having advanced drone pilots to really enhance our data collection. And data collection has been somewhat limiting. And so with this new capacity, I think we can all boast of having trained individuals that can enhance our data. And how this is within, we are now in the hurricane season. And so data collection, and when we speak about the data methodology, and what I want to urge is that pre and post disaster information is critical. And so use this knowledge for us to capture the data, not only crops and livestock, but farm infrastructure, and have our maps and all our acreages mapped and analyzed so we can be quick enough to bounce back if we have the pre and post data. And so don't just look at it as flying this fancy gadget, but see it as enhancing our data information system. And that is going to be part of our entire agriculture and fisheries data information system. So at this time, I want to again apologize for the Honorable Minister. I know the director was on it, but he really wanted to be there. And his word is that let us not see it as fly, but how can we advance? How can we frame up that spirit How can we use this technology for surveillance? How can we use it to further our data collection? And I'm happy that our good friend Mr. James is there with us from the Met Office. And how can we collaborate to enhance some of that weather information, climatic information? It's not only the acreage and the production, but how can we work with the physical planning division to see how we can have all the maps required. So again, on behalf of the ministry, I want to thank you for continued support and to urge you to training and to apply it successfully to enhance our data provision. Thank you very much.
So we'll bring on Dr. Kim Baldwin, who is Marine Special Information Solutions, as is about drones for agriculture, participatory mapping, and geospatial analysis, and the training review. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you. So yes, thanks Kian and everybody for coming today, Honorable Permanent Secretary and other distinguished guests. I'm really pleased to be here and present this project, the advanced drone training. I was actually the person that helped set up the drone team back in 2022. And it is such an honor to be here today, continuing work here in Dominica and with this amazing drone team. So we've already started this, but this is our agenda today. The presentations will not be long. Why we are all here today is that we fully understand the benefit of using drones, especially in a country like Dominica. It allows us to efficiently and effectively collect accurate, timely data, and it uses a lot less resources, time, and skills than traditional surveys might be to do mapping, monitoring, and analysis of the environment. So specifically today, in terms of drone technology, I'm going to focus on the uses of drone technology for agriculture. Agriculture is one of the largest industries in the world for using drone technology, drone mapping. It is used for identifying crops, crop health, plant emergence, also precision agriculture, planting, spraying, livestock monitoring, and really the crops, soil analysis, different research trials, as well as crop damage and analysis. As we mentioned, using drones for disaster risk management, whether it's agriculture or wider, has a lot of other great benefits as well. It allows us to go up and do real-time damage assessments and be able to understand the impacts of a disaster, but also, as previously mentioned, really understanding vulnerability pre-disaster, right? Understanding different community vulnerabilities and climatic vulnerabilities so that we can help mitigate these activities. So drones allow us to work in real time, very rapidly, and conduct rapid assessments. So why should we be using drones for agricultural mapping? As you're going to see today, drones allow us to very easily and cost-effectively capture detailed and accurate high-resolution data. It allows us to act on that information in near real time and be able to effectively or analyze that information in near real time and then effectively act and create informed management and planning decisions. As I've mentioned, and you will see today, drone technology has proceeded apace. I've been in the drone industry for over 10 years now, and the drones and the technology, the apps are extremely accurate. They are relatively non-technical and affordable. The other huge benefit in the Caribbean for the country of Dominica, as well as many other islands, is that a lot of this heavy lifting in terms of the analysis of all this data and information is now based in the cloud. There's AI tools and apps that can help us with analyzing this data both efficiently, but also in a timely manner. The other part, or the reason why I love drone technology, is that many people in the room might know about GIS, Geographical Information System, which is this 3D mapping type of software. As a GIS lecturer of 20 years, it's something that's technologically used to be very challenging for people. And this drone technology that you're going to see today that the team's been using, it's a web-based technology like Google Earth. It's very simple and easy to use. And it is a great stepping stone to building GIS capacity within the region as well as being able to work remotely around the country, region, and globally. And I think remotely is a great word for Dominica. Why? Because as we all know, the terrain in this country and to get from point A to point B is difficult on a good day. And if there's a disaster and road blockages, it could be nearly impossible for a period of time. So this technology is really great. It allows us to fly and collect the data, but also process and analyze the data, all in a streamlined fashion. I'm going to very briefly give you an overview of this advanced drone training program, just in a few slides. The majority of this presentation today is the team telling you their drone story, telling you the process that we've gone through the last few months and showing you how this technology is an absolute game changer for agricultural management within Dominica, as well as the world. So the foundation or the core of my approach is this participatory approach. All right, so where my PhD and what sets my training apart from other trainings is it's focusing on creating ecosystem-based information, creating not just conventional scientific or mapping data, but also social economic information and understanding the interactions that happen within an area. It also is applying something called a collaborative approach, where we're trying to engage many stakeholders, many other sectors in terms of other ministries and public sector, but also private sector, fishers, farmers, community groups, everybody that has knowledge about the environment, as well as the resources and the problems, as well as maybe also the solution. So it allows us to work together in an integrated, holistic fashion so that we can support ecosystem-based management, as well as achieve the 2030 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So the approach of this training project and the time frame was approximately a 3-month project. It consisted of 8 weeks of intensive training 6 pilots and 6 analysts using a blended fashion. The main goal of this program, because this team, the prerequisite is that you had to have done the previous training in 2022. So this was not a beginner's training. This was an advanced training. This was taking our skills to the next level. So it was improving and streamlining our commercial operating procedures, our professional international standards, as well as undertaking advanced high accuracy multispectral drone technology, as well as analysis and the development of agricultural monitoring strategies. So this proceeded in the development of several national drone monitoring site case studies, which you are going to see today. We're having slide issues. As I mentioned, it was blended. So it started virtually and it ended virtually. I came in the center for 3 weeks and worked with the team. But there was an intensive online training academy, which is built, and you can see some of the lessons here. With more than 100 lessons, this team really has been working hard with me. So what did we start? We started with the commercial operations policy. We had developed this in 2022, and we updated the policy. We reviewed the workflows, we reviewed the policies and procedures, and we refined them. We reached out to DASPA, the Dominica Sea and Airport Authority, and we retouched base with them to see if there was updates to the national policies and procedures. And we updated this entire operations manual. This also included reviewing the roles and the responsibilities of the drone team, the data collection management protocols, and refining those as well. Now that we had been applying it for a few years, it was time to evaluate and adapt. And that's a big portion of this class. So we applied these commercial operating procedures throughout the entire training. So we refined them at the beginning, and then we put them into practice again and again at every site we went out to. So this included updating our online drone flight request procedures, which anyone now within the country can reach out online and submit a drone flight request form if they need support and assistance. It also included doing safety and feasibility risk assessments and putting into threat and error management measures when we go out and undertake these commercial operations, understanding risk and being able to think proactively so that accidents don't happen. And so a lot of this entailed desk-based assessment, spending a long time in class with a Google or ArcGIS Earth, and especially Dominica, I've been on training in 15 Caribbean countries. It is hands down the most treacherous terrain of any island. This was the most exciting training for me because it was really testing the drone to its limits and the team. All right, so we spent a lot of time working on safety and flight planning, and so that these missions, when we go out, they can be executed not just safely, but efficiently and accurately. If we don't do it accurately, there's no point in collecting this data. So we focused on, under the project, 2 drones were procured for the ministry, an Air 2S, which the team will talk about later. But the exciting part was learning this new drone. It is the Mavic 3 multispectral, which is an agricultural drone. The team will also be talking about this drone. And what we learned has a new apps and software, how to use it, how to undertake RTK and PPK, high accuracy surveys, as well as multispectral data collection techniques. And then what did we do? We applied it. We applied it through capstone projects or team projects. All right. And so this wasn't just, learn the drone and collect the data. I'm a GIS person, so this was all about data, probably more than the team liked. We probably spent 2/3 of this class focusing on data. How do we use data? How do we organize the data? Analyzing the drone results, summarizing it, integrating this data with GIS, with COBO, the other farmer databases, and the other information that's being collected within the country so that we can, again, apply this participatory, holistic approach. The capstone project that I had mentioned here, as the project went on and we started brainstorming national projects and needs, we realized a great pilot project or capstone project would be to try to apply this participatory approach to an agricultural census for Dominica. So that's what we did. We used this project as a way to test and trial and evaluate this approach with an agricultural census. And so the great thing is that they align perfectly. The participatory approach, as well as an agricultural census, both require comprehensive, cross-sectoral, ecosystem-based data. All right, it needs to merge both conventional agricultural and biophysical data, as well as infrastructure, socioeconomics, and local knowledge data. It can allow us to have this more comprehensive or holistic view of what's happening on the ground so that we can better inform planning and management activities, as well as programming of our activities on the ground. In conclusion, I'll let the team go. What did we really accomplish in this training? We, as I mentioned, we undertook 2 months of training. 16 days of that was virtual and 11 days in person, which comprised of over 200 hours and 100 lessons of training. We actually went out, planned, undertook, and did analysis of more than 1,500 acres across 5 various agricultural and disaster risk and fisheries sites in Dominica. We created 3D geospatial data, as well as collected multispectral data, and did analysis at all sites. And today, without any further ado, you will hear about the results of this training from the teams themselves. They will be presenting these 5 sites right now. So, first team up. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kim, for giving us a good overview of this, and we'll waste no time. And we'll hand over to the drone team to make the presentation. Yeah. Okay. Good morning, everybody. We'll begin our story with our training ground. So the training was mostly that, and we did all nothing else like which we training surprise. And so now I will just give you all the synopsis of all that way. We know Roseau is the capital city of Dominica. We all know Roseau, the government's free country. We know the role plays in the fishing, tourism, industry in this region. We know that Roseau is also home to most of our critical infrastructure, stadium and all the things, including our police, fire station, also that of our residents of our president. Roseau, however, is also global as a thing. So it will be looking the disaster risk management application into public site. Roseau sits at the bottom of the Roseau Valley, what is going to the Roseau, which is frontal flooding events during high rains. And we also see a lot of our infrastructure sits on the waterfront subject to storm surge. Okay. So during the Mavic Free Enterprise Multispectral, it uses a different flight software. So what we see is a screenshot of our flight software called DJI Pilot 2. Unlike the Phantom 4, where the flight plans were made on the online software during Lloyd, with this drone, you can actually create flight plans and set your parameters running your one control. So what we have there is a screenshot of that control with some parameters. What we see is our DSM or digital surface model. This is integrated into the flight app by download. And what that does is basically it gets the drone real-time animation. So it is able to keep altitude and maintain a steady altitude. So if you slow at 100 or 120, it will rise and fall with the surface model to ensure and keep the same elevation. Our Roseau is located close to one of our airports, Kingsbury Airport. So because of that, we were in our altitude zone and had to be unlocked. We did that unlocking for the DJI FlySafe app, and to do so, we had to contact our aviation authority, DASPA, to present a letter which we will submit to DJI to give us that permission to fly with capital city. Okay. So basically, after the flight was done, this would be our results. With somebody time, the amount of images captured, etc., and to let you know how much area that was from that flight. This was our initial flight. We also did a comparison flight. So back in 2022, when we were trying the Phantom 4, once again around the world of this. So one of our pilot flights will be more at the ecosystem. You can see our 3 different flights. So one was flown with the Phantom 4, which we have built as the one. Then we have the Air 2S, which is the gray one in the middle one. And then we have the Fisheries multispectral, which is the last drone on our side. We can see the comparisons in terms of flight times and flight speed, rate of motion. But what we take one point here is the accuracy, the ability for us to take that imagery and place it where it needs to go in real time to take accurate measurements. So basically, the accuracy of that would be off by centimeters. So our map literally be off by a few centimeters, which will enable us to do a lot of cellular or the accurate measurements. As we can see, the flight time maximum resolution also, but the composure is the accuracy of the multispectral. We also had some for the flight surveys, the initial days, so the master shots, the HOS is a very good photography drone. So we practice some in flight modes in terms of master shots. We also did some free flying to brush up on our flying skills, and we took some pics on the panel at that time. Okay, so we get into the integration part. And like we say, this training is an advanced one, so it's not just really about the drone or the mapping, but how do we integrate the data that we have with those results that we get from the drone. So this is just a short video of me doing some more QGIS, and the point of Roseau was for disaster risk. So I have a few layers there, and also I can show the flood data for Dominica. It also shows elevation data, as well as our map that we made of Roseau. There are also points highlighting some of the important infrastructures that we have in Roseau. So the stadium, school, our fisheries, and building and other government buildings. Whether we see, we see here when that is overlaid with our flood data, then we see that, and we see the flood is colored shown on the map. Green is low, the black blue is moderate, and the dark blue will be high risk areas for flooding. And we see most of our city of Roseau falls within the high risk areas of flood. So it's when we are able to take these data and analyze, this is a storm surge. So the red there shows high storm surge areas, pink low, and there's some moderate. That line not just about with the Roseau. So if we analyze the flood and the coastal storm surge, we see that a lot of more critical infrastructure within Roseau is located in very hazardous zones. Historically, that is where we have settled, but like we said, the importance now is to really understand where we are, analyze the data and overlaying it so we can make better decisions moving forward and how we can mitigate against some of the risks and hazards that we face here in these difficult terrains. So this is a presentation on master risk mitigation. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Asher, and I'm going to do a short presentation on the past 2 months, but especially in the one prosperity area. So one prosperity is one of our most productive areas in Dominica in terms of vegetables and minerals. We have approximately almost 200 pounds on maybe all 300 acres of land cultivated in that area. So what we did was that area because of importance, and we wanted to really test the multispectral imagery on the M3M drone. So back in 2022, and right now we are in 2025 with the new drone test out different aspects of the cameras. So as I said, it's a highly productive village. We did 3 main flights. One at an altitude of 100 meters, in which we did the entire area from the western section to the eastern section of 1%. And then we did 2 similar flights using the multispectral drone at a lower altitude, in which we will observe pestle diseases and plant health in our vegetable plots. So first of all, we did our side plan was done at 100 meters. And one of the things we did in flying that was using our real-time and terrain aware. For some reason, we have problem using our DSM, our digital surface model, because of issues of high altitude and cloud coverage and so on. So we have to switch over, and thanks technology allowed us to do that. Flew one flight, and the flight then was about 21 minutes, and we captured about 560 46 images total. So we mapped 117 acres. Resolution was 2.96%. Those are now RSME, almost 42 centimeters.
Good morning, everybody. My name is David Stavo. Okay. While we did top flights in the multi-spectrum, that it was very close to my heart. The reason why I'm an agronomist, this was very close to me because it dealt with plant air. And that is why was really touching to me to learn about that hearing. Okay. So as you know, one of the VGI multi-spectrum has 4 sensors and 1 camera. Okay. The camera is used for mapping. But when we talk about multi-spectrum, we can use 4 sensors. Each sensor captures different like we put here infrared, red, green. As our eyes can see certain wavelength between 400 and 700. If a plant now is under stress and you have a healthy plant, there's an indice. Our eyes cannot see that indice. So with the multi-spectrum, these sensors are able to capture that data. That is what is wrong about this type of drone. So as we selected in the multi-spectrum area, but to test that technology in plant health and in plant disease. This plant will flow 25 meters, so very low, and it will be light spectrums. Okay, so plant protection quarantine, we really have to go together to determine pest disease in the around Dominica. We have to go together. Okay, so in plant health, we floated at 25 meters. We captured a 125 photo. In the plant, in the plant and disease, we captured when floated at the same height, 25 meters, or 199 photos. In best time, we captured a data, the solar noon, between 3 p.m. in the day. Okay? And we floated in the park of the crop. That is why we placed in and how you plant your crop is very important extension of because to teach them the farmers to plant properly. So when the drone tips come in, we can have more precise in the collection. We also took a panel. We give them a panel. But what is a panel? A panel is a group of photos together, and you can see that at the panel. So it gives you You can give that to the farmer and he can actually see it from what is good side view, what's really going on in his farm. That is very important. Yeah, very key to my heart. I'm an agronomist. It's very important. What happens is when you take all the data, you take it in the program, it's like is this thing. So what basically the infections of chlorophyll. So you can notice a plant that is in stress and a healthy plant. But with all that, you still need to walk, the officer need to walk the field to verify the information. So that is where we collaborate, the drone team and the officer on the field. We need that collaboration. Yeah, okay. And in the end, as I said, we selected too far. And we did that things. Okay. So, yeah, different layers. As I said, yeah, different layers. It's already listed also with the moisture and photosynthesis. So, the red will show you the thing that need irrigation and so on. The soil. So, and your works that is like presenting on for learning. Okay, guys. And then something more interesting gains on missing food. For example, I don't know what's here and other where it will get disturbance. We need to set up a timeline as to how we can monitor and how we can deal with the farmers and get that information. For example, on the side, maybe a quarterly mapping can go on something, right? But we still have to like the establishments going from the eastern of the state by the last 100 meters. You can actually see the crops are planted, but be sure you might need crops involved. Also, we need more collaboration. I think PUAS, we need the NGOs and others to share information as well as everyone. Additional data collection survey, we need more field service to be done. And finally, some of the lessons we learned was that even if the technology using drone, there are still pockets where information still needs to be killed. For example, as I mentioned earlier on, we have the problem of using the digital service model, and then we have to switch data time and generating awareness of the drone. So these are some of the things we have to take into consideration as a doctor. So I just want to say thanks everybody for the support and
A big morning to everyone. My name is Dominica, Extension Officer, and today I'll be presenting on monitoring in Soufriere. Now, as we all know, that Soufriere is basically teaching and farming village, but today we'll be concentrating on farming aspect. But we flow from the watershed area, the base is where up various plants in the village. As we all know, that like I just said, that Soufriere is mainly into tree crops. Almost all the farms like the tree crops or root crops. Now, my other colleagues already established what we fly, but you may as well. So this then is what we call our KML. All right. So this we use ArcGIS to configure our flights, flight paths, and we take the KML and we import it into the drone software and it gives us the DSM. Then from that, the DSM gives us our different information, and then we set our parameters where we continue to do our flights. So, yes. So, like we're talking about DSM, so when we import the software into the drones, we get this DSM. Now, this, we put lower elevation, and what you see the is our high elevation. So, this flight was flown at 80 meters, right? We captured 169 acres, the two battery were needed for the flights, and 20 minutes. Okay. Now, these are very sites. There's something called accuracy reports. Now, as long as your reports and your flights and your pictures of gives you a green report. So this is just our accuracy report, stating the different pictures and the accuracy in which was flown and the pictures were taken. Okay, this is just a little map, taking that and the different photos and exactly where it started. This was our second site to show you where it starts and where it ends the flight. This is our PPK reports. All right. Just another report establishing the accuracy of the drone and ensuring that all the pictures were taken properly when doing a report. Okay, now, like we said, the drone can give us different animations, different models. So this, there is our animation model map. All right. So it will tell you we started on our lowest animation,
and we move to a high elevation. And this is a picture of the made map. So let's show you what. After we stitch all the pictures together, we put it in the software, it generates that map to us. Okay, now, like we said before, we are the Phantom 4. And right now we got too much on what this is just a compare and contrast from 2022, which we use the P40, 2025, where it is the M3M. So this is 2025, and this is 2022. Now, one of the key things you have to understand that 2022, the flight was flown at 120. However, in 2025, the flight was flown at 80 meters. Now, the higher you fly, less pictures, less time. The lower you fly, more flying time and more pictures. So, if all drones have the same megapixel, all right? But the higher the elevation, the less photos. Okay, now, another thing that we can do with the drone. Now, this is also a little thing we call annotations, like map out. Some of my farmers fan. So, with annotations. So, I know exactly, so I can see this is Mr. Simeon Bucket fan. So, from mapping that, I'm going to actually get the encourage for the farmers fan. A lot of the time, you might get report and you see that farmer and take some of the acres of plant the banner base. So, we can then now access the map and draw our stuff and verify that whatever the farmer says on the So that is one thing that we can do from the job. So it's not just about flight, but it's also about analyzing the annotations. Like I said, I'm also going to be speaking to monitoring farmlands, and like my colleague emphasized that we also need to collaborate with stakeholders and so on. One of the key things that I saw, granted that yes, we are all interested that we got the frame, but the P4P are not that different. The only difference is that the P4P is a multiple control in the sense that it could do mapping, it could do videos, it could do photography. Is that the M3M is an agricultural drone totally multi-textual active, plus let us do our plant and diseases and plant monitoring. So that's already the only difference. One is more facilitated to agriculture, while the other one is just a multiple control. And from that is my short presentation. Thank you so much.
Well, good morning. I'm myself attached to the Service of Agriculture Region, and I'm also one of the pilots for this program. I've been on this program since 2022. So I'm just going to give us an update of Scottshead, mapping and monitoring. In the Scottshead, we did a 3-day flight, and we did a linear flight where we had from the beginning of the peninsula going all the way to Soufriere in each front. That's all the linear. And we did public 3D walking where the drone takes pictures, that's about picture, and it puts it into actual just now. It shows a 3D model. So that is the flight. There are some dogs that is showing dangerous while flying, and we have to be more aware for surroundings. Some of the pictures didn't come up because they were interpreting. So even of that, and we did that's a 3D plan. It's showing at 120 meters. And the flight time to 22 minutes. It took 370 images and 68 acres of the acreage includes the waterfront. And the resolution was up to 2.99. What you see, when it's rain and collaborating teamwork, everybody has to be aware of when drone is and what is around each. So we did that. And so this now is one of our examples of the linear map. Now that linear map was conducted was the coastline from them to Soufriere. And by the coastline, through that at 75 meters and 50 to 60 meters, 110 meters, and we were going too far to the mountain. We have to set that 8 pilot 2, the against first lines. Cutting back 600 meters, cutting back to 12 meters. Quality 544 images, 111 acres, So now this is one of the annotations that I plug in, that you can use annotations to plug in at points on boats, fishing hubs, boat sheds, anything that you see that you want to allocate on the map that is of use agriculture office. You can do so in the annotation section of that.
All right, so we are going to now have Natalia Bouvier join us virtually to start the Salisbury mapping and monitoring site. So she's going to talk about this site. There's 3 people actually presenting this site because this is our larger agricultural census pilot project that we spent a lot of time on.
Morning, everyone. My name is Nusan Regis. I'm an agricultural trainee assigned to this unit. Alongside me is my colleague, Mr. Agricultural Officer, and then
So for a small island developing state like Dominica, it's really important for us to look at a census as more than just the crops that a family is growing. We actually have to look at it as an ecosystem, so an agricultural ecosystem, where we look at the spatial data as well as the social and economic situation in the area. And so that will include a participatory approach, which is why we look at it as a participatory-UAS framework for the agricultural census, where we will actually look at the knowledge based in the community, so by the persons who are involved, as well as the GIS data that we collect from the drones. So there are actually several groups of information that we collect. The first being the core agricultural and land use data. Here we look at the size and the number of farms, whether or not it is cultivated or not, as well as the ecosystems, so any watersheds that are in the area, the elevations of the area, and any hazards that are associated with that area. So that will involve using the drone as a base map and integrating the information from the community themselves to complete it. So we'll also look at the crop and livestock production data. So the types of crops that is grown, the estimated harvest that is expected, the types of livestock, and any other innovative agricultural practices that is taking place in that area. So we use field surveys as well as participatory mapping and drone mapping to validate this information. Then we have the socio-economic data from the farmers and the community, where we look at the demographics, so the livelihoods of the persons, their participation in groups and cooperatives. And this is actually when we look at how the members of the community actually integrate with the farming community. Then we look at the map. When we think of markets and infrastructure, we really look at the conditions of the roads, the distance of the farms to the market, the distance of the farm to the post-harvest facilities, to the slaughterhouses, to any community points. Here we also look at things like the police stations, etc., and the services offered by the ministry, so the livestock office, the regional office, etc., and how the farmers have access to these areas. And then we have the environment, disaster, and climate resilience data. And a lot of this will actually come from the drone imagery as well as our GIS data sets. So we look at the different models that we have already available. This is where the data from the Met Office comes in. This is where the data from Land and Survey comes in. And we also look at things like the vulnerability, so mapping the areas where we've had extreme hurricane damage, wind damage, water damage, etc. And then, of course, we have additional data sets that are important. So the legal status, the registration of the land and the farmers, any digital platforms, the agro-processing in the areas. And so this is where we see the integration between the different parts of the ministry. So agriculture, environment, that's where we look at the different climate offices, etc., and how we share the same data for different applications. So to get an agricultural census, we actually needed to look at what type of data was necessary. And it actually took a lot of brainstorming. We had some serious brainstorming sessions using pen and a whiteboard and just trying to select what was the critical information that we would be collecting. To help us with that, we also use the Kobo toolbox because we had already been using that for data collection. So a lot of the subsets were already there, and we use that to assist us in creating our metadata table. And so why did we have to do an agriculture census, or what is the importance? There are really a few important things that we have to look at, and it is for one, resource allocation. So when it comes to national planning and looking at what communities require, what infrastructure, where do we add money, where are the opportunities for investment, where are the high risk areas, all of those are things that we look at. It also helps us to support climate adaptation. And most importantly, at least to me, is where we get to look at the pre and post-disaster information. Because when we go out and we do the census, we capture all of the information. And should there be a disaster, then it really doesn't take a lot to simply go out, recapture the new information, and compare it to what was previously done to give us an accurate and timely assessment of the damages that has been done. And so without further ado, I will allow my colleagues to continue with the Salisbury report. Thank you.
Okay, so we chose salt as our pilot program. That was never really the most work. The other flights were short of life. This one was more complex. We mapped the entire village of Salisbury from the top of the mountain all the way from the area where it is, all the way to the bottom. Actually, it was focused on agriculture because, as you know, in Dominica, once you mention agriculture, you already mention as part of that. On Salisbury, like 1+1 is one of the most of our vegetable production comes from the description of the site. We just map the watershed to show the active farmers in the area, the site importance, very important agricultural community, because you will see in the Grand South area, in the village, where almost every area has a farm, every house has either a backyard farm, some type of farm going on in that short results to neighbors. We try to show this smaller farms, agroforestry, and the commercial plots. And some of the traditional farming on these cooperative platforms in the area. So we use the ground remote spectrum to apply the southern area. So we had to create KML and done shared, and then we translate to use that software. We didn't use the electron deploy because we couldn't get it comes with the pilot program, so we can actually do everything on the remote control. So the importance of choosing the site. So normally when we go to fly, we don't just go out as a team and just say, oh, we want to fly, and we just take the drone and send it up in here. We have the whole team. Normally, sometimes we might even have to go out in advance to look at the area to see what zones where we can take off from, where we can establish our flights, because as Kim rightly said, Dominica is a very difficult place to fly because most of the other islands, they are flat, and Dominica, we know we're not like that. So flying in Salisbury, we encounter some problems that, depending on the type of system, if we were using DSM, depending on which one you use, when they fly with on the outside, we have cliffs on both sides. So sometimes when you don't know which one flying over one side, it will drop because of the one we are using. So this is a map, that's what the map look like after we fly it. And now it's I will show you here the annotations we made on it. So with the buffer mosaic was 2.5. The resolution was 9 centimeters per pixel, and the accuracy was at 40 centimeters. The elevation of the red area is the higher elevation, and goes all the way down to the group. So it will be descending from 1 to down. So that we will use that to measure how we can manage our flights when we start. Which area would be appropriate to start, and which areas would be we will need more monitoring, more precaution when flying. These are the annotations. But I was extremely interested. So if you see, this is our key right there. So you can see the red areas is past the museum. That means most of them and 3/4. Yeah, on areas, you can see that these are areas that are unused and going find at that present time. There are no crops there, but watermelon,
all on the way, all the type of based on so now cut the map. But you will have to all different type of fields. So like I said, right now there's the livestock grazing, so in yellow, you will see these are ones that are following the origin. Oranges are on, I think it's passion fruit, exotic. So you can just look at the map. So using that as part of the code. When we go to the football, we don't have the names, the point, the locations of the farmers, so we can actually go back and see that you got this farm and that's where the farm is located. So whoever is looking at the map can actually know that the person has on the ground in real time.
So this in my screen, we know that it's a method with also the agricultural census method. We have quite a few features. They're quite classes, their geometry and their attributes in there. So in this, we have a breakdown of everything that to capture from over. Each feature has been color-coded for annotation purposes. With green being crops, protected and regulated areas, orange being exotics and stakeholders, yellow being fallow or unused land, purple for infrastructure, red for livestock and hazard areas, blue for water and irrigation systems, and white for administration and soil and agroecological data. Right here, so site results annotation data zone. This is literally a screenshot of a report that drone deploy put clear us in the backend. After putting in our annotations, you will see here that after all the heavy lifting has been done, we can go in the backend, generate the report, and as you can see right here, we are able to download our CSV file. With every single annotation being uploaded, we have sections like area, for example, where you can see what color it is red, sense of pasture grazing, the area, the entire area of this specific pasture, and what the service area. Beneath that, we have almost frequently marked steps, as can be seen here, with the help of Kim. She has taken the data that we had, and she tested them, AI, and it showed us from every annotation we had here that our number one crop here is tomato eggplants, watermelon specific one at one mark directions at 20 areas mark, and then 3 crops specific in candy at 20 areas mark. Okay, so going on here. Like we said, we are able to annotate as well as so many other. So on this page here, we have a screenshot of livestock, like I said earlier, red in color orange. And you can see the things that we are in, everything that is related to what these feature names are and the specific attribute. For livestock summary, as you can see, we have about feature and about subtext and all. With every annotation that was placed on the map, we can give a full count of how many primes, pens, pastures, equals, and hatchery areas are currently. So as can be seen here, we literally have 17 pig poultry or small ruminants. We have 8 pasture grazing areas, 5 agriculture areas, 3 slaughterhouses, and 2 ranches. Here is a screenshot of literally one of the farmer's location. Let's look at that.
Yeah.
So this is Mr. Gandhi's farm, where he literally has a mixture of areas. He literally has a communal building, he has a poultry area, and so on and so forth. And in here, infrastructure. As said earlier, infrastructure is total. And bring annotation codes. So, for future of one line, every single thing wants to link back between the drains and between focal points. Because at the end of the day, we need to know what we have at present, and God forbid another storm section passes, we need to be able to account for this. As you can see in the infrastructure pictures again, we have 24 areas with fencing, 18 with roads and tracks, 11 greenhouses, 9 communal buildings, 8 irrigation systems. And alongside on the right side of here shows the length, the horizontal levels for and yes, all data integration, and we have sat down. We have put all these different areas together with the help of Dr. Kim. And as can be seen, like I said earlier, with the different color coding. So we have soil and agricultural data, we have protected and regulated area, social and community economic activities, hazards, administrative and support layers, and secondary data. Now, in regards to data integration, integrating the data from drone deploy and cobalt toolbox can significantly enhance data collection. analysis, and reporting for various applications. This integration allows for combing drone captured imagery and geospatial data with detailed field observation, creating a more comprehensive and insightful data set. Benefits include improved accuracy, efficiency, and accountability in monitoring and evaluation process, particularly in fields like agriculture, construction, and disaster response. Monitoring strategy recommendation. So as you can see here, we have all data gaps and additional surveys as well as monitoring. Stakeholder validation and field survey required, participatory mapping for farmers extension and map overlay, table joins, and national GIS data, ecological hazards and administration. And we let make exams and extension officers more on the mapping frequency.
Okay. So basically, the mapping frequency is the amount of times in a year we want to map that area so we slowly compare and contrast. So we can observe what type of areas. Now, the ideal time we thought would be 4 times a year because we no longer the most public crops that are planted now are 3 months. So it was good if we could do that, but we know that's not really possible. We should at least try and make the map of the Salisbury so that you already have the map constructed. It's not anything new. We're going to take the same data, the same information, put it into the drone, and the whole thing wasn't even need to be there to fly. So let's say Davis and I are already on the west, we can just invite Joe and Nick. But we can just send us the information and then the three of us could just go and just fly the map, send the information back, and then already the data to get back. But another thing about this for the time of normally we want to do it probably before the start of the hurricane season and then after the start of the when we start end of the hurricane season so we can have that data to compare.
Thanks, everyone. That was great. And last but not least, we're going to hear from Macaulay, who is the drone team coordinator of the pilot.
Good morning again, everybody. This is our team structure and runs of our data unit. This is what was proposed before the PUAS operation manual, the draft policy manual. We have not this structure with the help of Dr. Kim Morne, structuring was like principle before. However, seeing that we have done a lot of work when we have the upgrades on knowledge and we want software to go that. I think we're looking at also spreading that knowledge within the ministry itself. So basically, the team structure starts with for the head of the data unit. They would be the ones that really make the final decision and call oversee the joint units or UAS. Underneath them would come the engineers. So the engineers would be responsible for the overall equipment they have. I'm looking at the equipment, making sure that the drones on board, the batteries are charged, everything is up to date and up to standard before we go each flight. The coordinator would be the person that leading the team installed pilots of the mission, so they would be the person probably reviewing the feasibility assessment, making sure that all the parameters have been checked before the pilots and go out and have them. The data manager would be responsible for information battle world. So what is coming in, what is going out, that means storing all our KMLs, our forms, our data sheets, as well as uploading and processing the data and putting them into the necessary folders and drives where we complete that. Underneath the coordinator and the engineer, we will see that we have a UAS crew. So the UAS crew would comprise basically about train staff, that would be a pilot, we would have an engineer, we would have a data manager. So train additional staff to assist with that in the intelligence. As we see here, we would also have data respondent data manager would be responsible for things like the annotation, putting the necessary notes onto the maps, working on the metadata table that integrating in different data. We can see here also that when we go to the field, depending on the mission was a pretty difficult one. So line of sight is important. We need a lot of collaborative effort from the crew members. So basically, based on the scope of the mission, we saw the one is like the FSA, that is office activity, based on our operations manual, it is advised that you fly with no less than 3 on the team, and then there will be a observers in case we need line of sight mission. So this is just the structure that we are proposing. We've done some extensive revision on it and the policy manual with the help of Dr. Morne. So moving forward, this is certainly that we like to adopt. Thank you very much.
So we're coming to a conclusion. I just want to wrap this up. We're going to keep it open for some questions in a moment. But really, what are the recommendations? What are the next steps? So thanks to Macaulay there to giving an overview of the team structure, the team roles. I think another important thing is that you don't just go out and fly drones. There's a lot of thought and procedures and planning that happens when a drone flight and mission needs to be accomplished, right? So the team, even the policies and procedures for flight approvals and authorizations, this isn't something that you just request a drone mission and think the team's getting out there in 5 minutes to go out. They can just pick up the drones and go. I think that was a good appreciation. But what are the recommendations and next steps? As most people in this room know, we started this program in 2022. The team had a few years to go out and fly and practice, obtain data. This definitely has advanced their skills in terms of more advanced agricultural mapping missions, really more importantly, in terms of the data collection, analysis, and use of this drone data and integrating this drone data. But at the end of the day, this team is still at a very beginning stage. As mentioned, I can honestly say that this is one of my most advanced teams in the Caribbean with drones. Why? This terrain, this environment, Dominica's got every challenge you can imagine, every natural disaster you can imagine too. So the recommendation that I have is to allow this team, we've gotten through a lot, the traction and the intake of all the information has been very overwhelming, they can tell you. As I told you, we were 200 hours of training in the last 2 months for them. But they need dedicated time now to focus, practice, and refine these skills, advance these skills in flight planning, in conducting mapping surveys, processing, analyzing the data, and utilizing the data. Also thought in terms of evaluation and testing of the team roles and the data workflows. How are we going to integrate this? Dedicated time. The internal structure of the team needs to be formalized. Monthly meeting, integration with department workflows, national projects, and partners. Geospatial data strategy. Alignment of this drone data with the ministry's national data sets, the COBO data set, other national GIS data. The partnerships need to be built with, let's say, public, private sector, and community groups, as well as to do the participatory mapping and monitoring, working with the farmers, showing them the role they can and should be playing. I would highly recommend technical support, strategic guidance for this team, whether it's me or somebody else, but that guidance to keep them going, to keep them on track. And they've learned a lot. It's taken me 10 years to get to where I am. So providing guidance for the team is recommended. Also, as the team suggested, a national drone audit, not just of drones, but the software and training across all government agencies, so that just perchance there was some sort of disaster or investments to be made, we know what we have. Because not all of this technology needs to be used at all points in time. So saving and maximizing resources, as well as the additional infrastructure in terms of training for GIS, for the interpretation of the remote sensing and multispectral data, as well as infrastructure of integrating the farmer COBO data set in particular with these drone mapping and monitoring strategy workflows. This requires geodatabase thought and restructuring so that this can be seamlessly integrated. In the short term, I would recommend that we let the drones team keep going out and mapping, all right, so they can practice. They've done some initial estimates. I would recommend we do one site in each region of the officers, as they know these regions. They work in these regions. They know the farmers. And again, reinforce the skills. So they did some very rough and dirty estimates. Don't count on these. And I would recommend they do a lot larger areas than what they proposed here. All right, like 500 plus acre areas each site, large scale, so that they really learn these advanced skills. And then also in the medium term, integrating that data integration that I mentioned, fleshing out the team roles, testing the workflows, refining the workflows within the ministry, refining these officers' roles within the ministry as extension officers so that drones are a natural part of their job. It should be used hand in hand. You talk to the farmers, you collect the COBO data, you fly the map first, and then you can sit down with them, collect the data, discuss it, and flesh out the information. Also, understanding the data gaps that exist that we identified, the participatory mapping, the validation that needs to be done after each time this is done needs to be worked on a bit more. And in the future, the minister is very interested as he had heard something about using spraying drones. And I wanted to just speak to this because everyone in the Caribbean wants them. But the reality is you need to use the Mavic 3 multispectral high accuracy drone first to map and know what do we have and how to treat it, how to create these prescription maps. You got to map it first, identify the problem, and then identify what is the targeted treatment. And then you send out the the other drone. They work hand in hand. Another thing to keep in mind with this drone is huge. All right, this drone is the size of your dining room table. It is very expensive, over $30,000 just for the drone. And then see those blades? They can hurt somebody. So there's a lot of liability, which means the team needs more training. They can handle this drone, it flies just the same. But the reality is they need to improve their skills some more first. They need to get out first and do base mapping all over Dominica with the high accuracy drone. And then they need the advanced training to how to analyze the multispectral data so then the AGRIS can be put into place. So I would recommend in the longer term, we acquire more Mavic 3 multispectral drones and then eventually acquire perhaps a spraying drone for pest and disease of the bananas or whichever types of problems, fertilizers. It can also be used for watering and other things. And then you need to obtain actually additional training in this drone and then launch pilot projects. So in conclusion, I would like to say this has been a pleasure. This is a very dedicated team. I have worked them to the ground. They probably need vacation after this, but they need time. They need visibility with the farmers, with the fishers, and the community and the public to prove the impact and the utility of this tool. So obviously communication and sharing about what is the application. And then we need to build those national partnerships, the community partnerships, the ministerial, the government partnerships, so that this can be scaled. I think the pilot project was amazing in Salisbury and really shows how this PUAS approach and this FOW training can be used to take Dominica to the next level in terms of agricultural management. Thank you very much.
Excellent presentation, Kim. Thank you for this.
Yes, thanks so much. At the whole time, seeing all of this work coming to fruition, we've really come a long way since 2022. So congratulations to the oldest and most experienced drone team in this part of the Caribbean or this part of the world. So listening to the presentations, I noted a few training opportunities and possible next steps. Some of this could be done online and all we need is the approval of the PS and we can get going. Number one would be, I think we are now ready to talk about learning of advanced cartography using QGIS or ArcGIS. The goal here is to be comfortable working outside of drone deploy. Drone deploy is very easy to use. It's a comfortable space to learn the basics of data management, of proper annotations, but it has its limits. In addition to the cost, in addition to the subscription requirements, there are limits in terms of like how you could actually export the data in a way that it could be further analyzed or integrated with other platforms. So now that you're all comfortable using drone deploy, and some of you are already very good with QGIS, so I think we can, if you're interested, we can move to the next stage, which is advanced cartography, map making, map layouts using QGIS. We can focus on QGIS because it's free. If QGIS, ArcGIS is not going to be that difficult. So this is one opportunity. Once you're able to work within QGIS, and then you can do almost any type of analysis that you can, that you have to do. Another opportunity would be, a bit more training on spatial analysis, overlay analysis. I've seen this. You have a lot of layers already. The examples that Macaulay showed with all of these different hazard layers, we can do much more once we learn a few more things or actually get to practice a few more techniques related to spatial analysis, overlay analysis. And this is usually tied closely advanced cartography technique. Sometimes it's just how you visualize how you put everything together. The more data that you have, the more would be the need to actually display all of this information in a way that they can be communicated most efficiently. And then there's an opportunity for integrated crop health monitoring and analysis, learning more on this. I saw this in the multispectral mapping presentation. So we could explore learning more about multispectral analysis and development of protocols. So when do you use NDVI? When do you use color infrared analysis? At which point in time do you use a specific vegetation index? Because they have all their weaknesses and strengths. And when do you map? Do you do it every month? Do you do it every week? Do you do it quarterly? Do you do it every decade, every 10 days, so that it aligns with the water assimilation of a particular crop? And can this be used to complement satellite analysis? This is something that we could deliver online. I can run this training myself. All I need would be the approval of the ministry, and then we can organize this. In this training, you will learn all of this, including working with multispectral analysis using drone imagery, commercially available satellite imagery, and also freely available satellite imagery from the Copernicus system. And then another opportunity, this is, of course, would depend on the ministry if there's interest, would be developing a custom artificial intelligence model for automated crop counting, or both counting for that matter, using user-friendly machine learning AI tools such as YOLO or You Only Look Once. This is something that we piloted already in St. Vincent de the Grenadines. Hurricane barrier delayed the work, but we know that it's possible. The proper training data set, and then enough investment in terms of time for image annotation and model training. And then it would be possible, very much possible, to develop a custom AI models that would count a particular target crop. And looking at the quality of the maps that you have produced, 5 cm resolution, that sort of stuff, that should be robust enough for model training use. And this would also include training on the basics, image-based AI, machine learning. This can be tied to the crop health monitoring training, should there be interest in this one. And then fifth would be data modeling and integration, inspired from the examples from the PUAS. There are a lot of things that we could play with, a lot of techniques on semi-automated data cleaning, table joins. How do you simplify further or streamline the process? How do you use this outside of drone deploying within QGIS, within other open source platforms, Kobo Toolbox, and others? So these are just 5 opportunities that I have identified just to put it out there. And again, we are thankful for being allowed to be part of this process and to assist the ministry. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberto, for being here with us during this very important closing ceremony. And right now we open to the audience. I think it's very interesting. What I was interested as far as into data ones. And then I'm not inputs. And of course, I want to get more general to run. To see all of this once again, and seeing all of this is very much. The thing is, post it online, submit selection. Also, we need to understand the idea will it's a takes time, long of time. Also, then up nights, commitments, lot of commitment as was mentioned. We need people that are trained, very well trained right now, in some sense, but still. As for all funded, all those things are pretty important, and we can't forget that. That's all when we're talking about data information. And of course, the importance of it, why are we doing all this? Because we want great understanding to what's better managing these various fisheries, the agriculture. And so it's just what it is out to so that we can investigate more presence of mind that it doesn't all back it's what someone and understand how we can have support now. Yep. All right.
Today the team, Joe Baldwin, and I'm really proud
That's
to work that you've been planned. I think we should get a big show down point running the people agricultural development, the people for infrastructure, the people for informing our data management system. And you have proven it today that we can depend on you based on the work that you have presented. And of course, the work that you presented, it touch every aspect from the funding, of course, to the respective services that we offer to people. And it says that the quality of work that we will be presenting or formate the reports to the PS and other hand, what means so that the quality that we present is more precise, more accurate. And I really appreciate the work that you're doing. And the point was entrance in that case, I Dr. King for supporting in achieving this milestone.
At this point, we have no more questions. Oh, yes. Thank you, Michael. James. Yeah, it will be some students from was part of the research was actually model talk from Boston. We take the same results from the animation model, technology, do that into fast flow, generate the so it's from 10 years old. So we are new, just a matter of like we say what collaboration. We need to do what well, no, thank you very much. I think just being part of the process, I feel excited. Some of 5-point recommendation that we have to look at seriously. In my own mind, it's time for us to have a drone unit, formalize to have that drone unit and an information unit to see how it's capture accurate information. As well, we need to build that ministerial data doesn't lie the Ministry of Agriculture only. So I see an opportunity for the entire government to use that technology to improve on our data collection. I see that beyond agriculture. And so for disaster preparedness maps, physical plan, get office. So again, I want to take this opportunity on behalf of the Minister of Agriculture, Rural and Fund Agriculture Organization. We've been in that since 2020, I mean. The training start 2022, but we've been in 2020. And we are still providing that advanced trainings. I also want to thank Kim, Dr. Kim, for building the capacity of our. And lastly, I want to continue on the senior staff of the ministry for support. So thank you again and continue to support. Thanks for it.
And enough certificate on board by the photo as I see Kim has it presenting on the board. So first we'll call guest.
Sorry, I don't have them individually up. I just had one as an example to lead us into. Sorry.
Lisa arranges.
Yes.
Bonnie Ishmael. Don Mitchell. I am so happy that Dr. Lugain is in China. It was quite a surprise to see her joining us virtually and even contributing to the presentation. So now, definitely not place Dr. Natalia Lugain.
Thank you.
So this brings us to the conclusion of our closing ceremony for the agricultural drone mapping and geospatial data analysis advanced training. I saw the PS trying to take my vote of thanks from me, but I shall continue with the vote of thanks. That just shows how enthusiastic and how pleasantly pleased that the PS is with this presentation today, that he wanted to come up and give us final remarks. I myself as director, I am happy also pleased with the team taking us back with the presentation. I can see a lot of good things in the future. within the Ministry of Agriculture. So I just want to thank all of the honorable minister who is not here. I'd like to thank him for his enthusiasm in the process. I'd like to thank Permanent Secretary for being here today and their unwavering support. Special thanks to the rest of the team, our staff. Special thanks to FAO, Roberto, and Dr. Kim Baldwin, who contributed to the training, equipment, and capacity building. And to the drone team, congratulations. You are pioneers in this space, right? So in closing, I look forward to the presentation. I look forward to this presentation, and I invite us all to continue engaging with this work as we grow, as it's an essential part within the Division of Agriculture, Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Law and Rural Economy, and as PSN to the wider ministry and to our nation. Why? I can see this playing a vital role in our disaster risk management, our integrated agricultural land planning, and many other functions. So and I just thank all of you here for being here today. The media, thank you for staying right through and carrying out this and covering this very important session. Thank you, everyone, and have a blessed Friday. Yeah.
Thank you. So proud of this team. You guys did amazing. Everybody, thanks again. Thanks to the Fisheries Division as well for lending us the room for the last few months. I know that was a lot. And thank you to the government of Dominica for all the support. I really look forward to seeing the future of this team. And last but not least, pilots and analysts, you still have access to the Training Academy for another month. So feel free to keep learning, go back, refresh, and you guys know where to find me if you need any help. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, team. I'm going to miss you guys. I know you're going to cry on Tuesday when you don't have my smiling face.
Don't cry.
Bye, everyone. I love you. I love Dominica. See you soon. You guys should smile. I'm really proud. Roberto, he had to leave, but he told me it was an amazing presentation. He said he is absolutely blown away. So well done. Everybody should be smiling. Good job. Keep flying. Stay safe. And keep me in the loop. Send me pics. Keep me up to date. I definitely want to know as things progress. Bye, everyone.